One is the Avalokiteshvara sadhana, and the other is our usual opening prayers. So let me enter the text information. If someone can post it on the Zoom link in case anybody still doesn't have it, I'm going to post it on Facebook. So we'll wait a few minutes before we start. Just have to make sure that the technology and everything is working out. So also apologies for some confusion regarding the time of this program. The time of this program is 9 to 10 o'clock New York time. Earlier, when I was thinking out loud about doing this series for the rest of Saka Dawa, I had mentioned that it's maybe going to be 10 to 11. And so then when information is being sent out, people sending the information were still, back when it was on the level of rumors. And so the rumors were spread around without recognizing that they are rumors. Not having looked at the beautiful flyer that was prepared, and that the times have been updated there. But all things are unstable. All things are always changing, including the beautiful flyer. Just one thing to say is the very last session of this series, we put it down there as Sunday. Yeah, the very last session of this series is on a Sunday, although normally it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. But I had to change, actually. So the very last session is going to be Saturday as well instead of Sunday. No worries, I will remind everyone. Because that Sunday, just very recently, I decided to agree to a request from another group to do something with them, and they can only do it on Sunday. So then we switch it back to Saturday. I had originally scheduled already with this group to do it on Sunday, or rather to do it with them on Saturday. And that's why in the flyer we say the last session is on Sunday. But then it turns out that this group, they cannot do Saturday. So anyway, we're switching back. So anyway, this is the program that we're going to do. 6 sessions during the rest of Saka Dawa. First of all, briefly, Saka Dawa. Saka Dawa, Dawa means month or moon, quite literally. Saka is the Tibetan short for the Sanskrit Vaishaka. Vaishaka is the fourth month according to the Indian calendar, the fourth month of the year. And this fourth month called Vaishaka celebrates, it's important for those in the Buddhist tradition because it is said that on this month, some of the most important events in the life of the historical Buddha took place during this month. Some traditions, like in Bhutan, they say, 5 great things took place. By the 5 great things, they mean that Prince Siddhartha was entered his mother's womb on this month. Then Prince Siddhartha was born on this month. That part is a little bit hard to figure out. That would mean that he was in the womb for about 12 months. But there is a tradition that says that. So it's religion after all, even though Dharma is not religion, Buddha Dharma is not religion, but Buddha Dharma mixed with culture becomes a religion. So, in religion, many things can happen. So conception, or rather entering of the womb, said to happen on this month. Birth said to happen on this month. Then the enlightenment or the Great Awakening happened on this month. But right before the enlightenment or Great Awakening is the overcoming of Mara. Mara representing confusion, representing distraction, representing the distractions of attachment and aversion and confusion, all of that. That, of course, happened right before enlightenment. So that's the third. So the fourth is the great enlightenment. And the fifth is the great passing into the great peace and perfection of nirvana, the Mahaparinirvana. So 5 things. For example, in Bhutan, they talk about this. But generally, we can say the 3 really important events, it's his birth, his great awakening, and then his passing into final and complete nirvana. So it is said that these 3 things all happened on this month. And so because of that, Saka Dawa, or the month of Vaishaka, is said to be especially meaningful and potent for those who are inspired by the life and the example of the Buddha. So as a group, many of us have been doing the daily practice of Buddha Shakyamuni for the first 15 or 14 days of Sakadawa. Now we are in the period of the final 2 weeks of Sakadawa, and we have a slightly modified program and schedule. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, New York time, 9 in the morning to 10, we'll be doing this compassion meditation. So let me say a few words about this compassion meditation. There are many different types of compassion meditation found within the Buddhist tradition. Some of these compassion meditation approaches are much more, you could say, formless. And some engage the use of form, meaning the use of imagery, sounds, ritual. And so what we're doing for these 6 sessions of compassion meditation is one of these types of compassion meditation that involves the use of forms. So the primary form that we're talking about here is the imagery or the form of the Buddha of compassion, called Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion called Avalokiteshvara. So if you look at the flyer that went out, we say that it's compassion meditation, and then it will be a guided program, of guided meditation on the Avalokiteshvara Deity-Yoga. So this will involve the use of forms, the use of colors, the use of sound, and the use of ritual, you could call it that. But it is still a form of meditation, right? So before I go further and talk more about this practice and practice together, first we start with our regular opening prayers. Especially, I would say, the content of these opening prayers or opening recitations, they are completely, all of it is about love and compassion. And the other thing to say too, when we say compassion, right? Actually, we mean love and compassion. Later, I'll explain how, you have to cultivate love and compassion as a pair. They go hand in hand, at least in this definition here. In the Buddhist understanding here, love and compassion goes hand in hand. They go together. So compassion is just a kind of a shorthand. So the essence of this deity or this principle is love and compassion. So these opening recitations that we have, it's all about love and compassion. And then, of course, this love and compassion is grounded in the necessity of developing clear seeing, clarity. The usual Buddhist term is wisdom. So this love and compassion is grounded in clarity, grounded in clear seeing, grounded in understanding. Understanding about what? Clear seeing about what? About the way things are, instead of the way things appear to be. So there is a fundamental, we say, Buddha taught, there is a fundamental discrepancy between the way things appear to be and how they truly are. So this clear seeing part is about developing a clearer and clearer, in other words, a more accurate understanding of what is it that I'm seeing? What is it that I'm hearing? What is it that I'm smelling? Not the specifics of the experience, but what is the nature of that experience? And then more and more it points to, who am I? Again, not in the sense of like, if I discover truly who I am, then I will know what my passions are, then I will know what I'm good for. All those, yes, important to do, yeah. But here we do not claim to deliver that. So I should state outright, the clear seeing we're talking about here will not make you more successful in the world. If that was the case, maybe I should charge more money, or at least charge money, if it will make you successful in this life, we do not claim, Buddha does not claim to deliver that product. This clear seeing about who am I is a way to clear away the confusions that create suffering for ourselves and for others. In that sense, the ultimate goal that everybody is looking for, Buddha says he can deliver. He can show us the way. And then we can, get on this path. All our desires, in fact, are grounded in a very basic desire, a desire to be happy and a desire to be free from unhappiness or suffering. Where we differ is knowing or not knowing how to reach this goal. From the most saintly person that we can think of to the most heinous person that we can think of in all of history, they were both motivated, and every else in between these two were both motivated by a very simple, basic desire to have happiness and to not have suffering. Nobody needs to be taught this. It's instinctive. And why is it instinctive that we want happiness and not suffering? Because that is our original home, happiness. So we have been exiled from our original home. We are all migrants, dislocated from our true home, which is this innate happiness. And because that's our nature, then anything else less than our nature, we are never comfortable. And that's why, without being taught, we do not like suffering. We want happiness. So that is a little bit about clear seeing. Slowly, slowly, of course, we see clearer and clearer and clearer. But this is a little bit about the clear seeing and how it relates to compassion and love. So we'll begin with the opening recitations. You can listen first to the English that I'm going to read one time, and then we're going to chant in Tibetan. Because the chanting, to me, maybe not to everyone, and I can see that, I can appreciate and understand that it's not the case for everyone, but to me, and selfishly to me, the chanting for me helps to open up the heart, which is what devotion is about. It's about opening up, opening our hearts. Sometimes we are too cerebral, like, everything, we think so much. Then the more we think, the more closed our hearts can become. Solution is, like not so much like don't think, but how to think clearly that will support the opening of the heart. Right? How to think clearly, because the Buddha did teach the importance and the necessity to think clearly, to use analysis. But at the same time, he also gave methods to help us open our hearts. So if these two can go hand in hand, then it's really wonderful. So first, listen. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious awakening. Thus, until I achieve awakening, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until awakening is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all migratory beings. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon, I hold in my mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all migratory beings experience such a pure land. Dala Dawa Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Tarba Dan Tamje Kembe Bardu Chopra Jeba Tam Jegi Su Jebe Mhanang Kadang Nyambe Zenjen Damje Dewa Dan Den Dungao Dandre Nudu Lana Me Bhayan Dabra Zobe Janju Rinpoche Tombra Dala Dhawa Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Darba Dan Tamje Gembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Jegi Zu Jebe Manang Kadang Nyampe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dan Den Dungyal Dandre Nidu Lana Me Bhaya Dabra Zobe Janju Rinpoche Tobra Dala Dhawa Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Tarba Da Tamje Gembe Bardu Jobra Jeba Tam Jege Su Jebe Ma Nangka Dang Nyampe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dan Den Dunga Dandre Nidu Lana Me Bhaya Dabra Zobe Janju Rinpoche Tombra de Zama Gege Bardu Lunga Gisum Gewala Go Maje Bardu Lunga Gisum Gewala Go De Dereng Ne Sunde Nima Tsan Da Samge Bardu Lunga Gisum Gewala Go Zangye Chodang Soge Chonam La Chanju Bardu Dani Kyabzu Ji Dagi Jinzu Gibe Sonam Ge Drola Benju Zangye Dubra Ju Zangye Chodang Soge Chonam La Chanju Bardu Dani Kyabzu Ji Dagi Jinzu Gibe Sonam Ge Rola Penche Sangye Drupra Shu Sangye Chodang Soge Chonam La Changju Barde Dani Gyabzu Je Dagi Jinsu Gibe Sonangi Rola Penche Sangye Drupra Shu Nangha Dan Nyambe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dan Dewen Genda Dempara Girji Dungao Dang Dungao Gi Gyudan Dreva Girji Dungao Mebe Dewa Dang Me Dreva Girji Nyerin Chada Nidan Dreva Tanyong La Nebra Girji Manang Kadang Nyambe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dang Dewen Gindan Dempara Girji Dungao Dang Dungao Gi Gyudan Dreva Girji Dungao Mebe Dewa Dang Me Dreva Girji Niring Chadang Nidang Dreva Tanyong La Nebra Gyurji Manang Kadang Nyambe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dan Dewen Gindan Dembra Gyurji Dungyao Dang Dungyao Gi Gyudang Drava Gyurji Dungyao Mebe Dewa Dame Drava Gyurji Niring Chadang Nidang Drava Tanyong La Nebra Gyurji Zaji Burju Jushi Medoda Rira Linji Ninde Kempa De Sangye Shinla Mingte Puwa Yi Zhuge Namda Shindu Chobar Shum Guru Deva Dagini Rena Mandala Pradeja Soha. This last recitation is an offering, which we call Mandala Offering. So it says, this ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon. So this supreme mountain, four continents, sun and moon is an ancient Indian understanding of what this universe is. So in other words, for them, right, it basically means all of this. All of this. So to all of this, it says, you sprinkle scented waters and strewn with flowers. Then it says, I hold in my mind as a Buddha land. In other words, it says, I shall make an effort to experience all my surroundings as a pure Buddha land. So then you say, well, what does it mean that it is a Buddha land? So there are, lots of details that we can go into. And then there are these like classic descriptions of pure lands, such as the Pure Land Sutra of Amitabha's Pure Land says how, this land is filled with all these wondrous things. The ground is flat, that the palm of your hands, so on and so forth, all the amazing qualities, right? Those qualities to describe how wondrous this Pure Land is, I think we should be able to see that they are culturally bound. They're expressed in terms that are attractive to the original audience. When it says, oh, the Buddha land is filled with, the ground is all made out of gold. So this assumes, right, that gold is rare and gold is precious. And now the ground is all gold. But then if you think a little bit about it, it's like, okay, now what am I going to do with the land that is all gold? Yeah. My peonies are not going to grow on this. My tomatoes are not going to grow on this. So we should not take so literally, descriptions of Pure Land to be this way, that way. Instead, get the underlying message, which is a land is pure. In fact, a land is pure or pristine or a Buddha land where there is no basis for attachment and aversion to arise. When there is no basis for attachment and aversion to arise, then there's no basis for all the other afflictive emotions to arise. And if there is an absence of afflictive emotions, that's the state of Buddha, being awake. Then this attachment and aversion are rooted in confusion, rooted in not seeing clearly. So then the fundamental afflictive emotion of confusion needs to be done with. The wisdom aspect. Attachment and aversion, that is, the antidote for that is love and compassion. So confusion to be dispelled with wisdom. That is what we call absolute bodhicitta. Then attachment and aversion to be done away with love and compassion. That is relative bodhicitta. So I apologize for those of you who might be completely new, but some of you are familiar with this vocabulary, so I will need to use some vocabulary. So when it says, I hold in my mind as a Buddha land, so it means, I will train to see and experience my surroundings, my existence, my universe as a Buddha land. It's not going to happen magically. It's not going to happen because I want it so much to happen. We have to create the causes and conditions for it. But it says, I shall create the causes and conditions of experiencing my life, my existence, my universe as a Buddha land, and I shall offer that. In offering that, the final line says, may all beings, all migrants, all migratory beings, all those who have been dislocated from their true home of true happiness, may they experience such a pure land, such a wonderful offering. So that when we practice this meditation on love and compassion, the technique involves seeing ourselves as the Buddha, Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of love and compassion. And then seeing our surroundings becoming the pure land of Avalokiteshvara. That's the meditation, that's the practice, that's the technique. But the sentiment, the background, the understanding has to be understanding the power of love and compassion in overcoming attachment and aversion. Understanding the power of developing wisdom, clear seeing, in purifying confusion. Then as we do this practice, we say, I'm transforming my experience so that others can experience this. In other words, if we cannot see our world, our existence as love and compassion, informed by clear seeing, if we cannot experience the pristine nature of our existence, of our surroundings, then we cannot bring about that same experience in others. So we work on the personal level for the benefit of the universal level. We work on the personal level for the benefit of the universal level. And more, we will be able to link these two so that eventually they become non-dual. At the beginning, there's a feeling of separateness, of duality. But we work on it so that working on the personal and working on the universal becomes completely fused. Yes, so now to the practice, the main practice. It is called the Visualization and Recitation, and this is now the other text, of the Great Compassionate One. A daily recitation after receiving the vase empowerment. This is the formal title of this whole practice. And it says it's from the Namchö Terma cycle of 13 Mingyu Dorje. So this is the source of this particular practice. At Urban Dharma, we received this practice from Khenpo Nima that came from Nepal a little while back as a good friend of mine for many, many years. And so I invited him here and he gave us this very special empowerment. This empowerment is actually very simple. Not much ritual at all. Really kind of like a very direct for us. I think we feel that way, because many of us are not familiar with ritual elements, then we get overwhelmed by all the ritual details. This particular empowerment was very direct. Now, quickly, you'll say, oh, can I practice this without empowerment? Yes, because it's an Avalokiteshvara practice, 6-syllable mantra. His Holiness the Dalai Lama and many other lamas, even the very conservative lamas, will say, Om Mani Padme Hum is universal. the practice of Avalokiteshvara. If you have devotion, if you have openness of heart, in other words, footnote, right? Whenever you hear the word devotion, if you say, well, I don't know what that means. The footnote is openness of your heart. Your heart is open and willing to accept. So if you have that, then there is no error in practicing this. In any case, I feel when we say, oh, do you have the empowerment? Do you not have the empowerment? You need the empowerment to practice. I think simply turning up in an empowerment doesn't qualify receiving an empowerment. The real receiving of an empowerment is a lot harder. And in that sense, many of us have not received empowerment yet. We have just superficially attended empowerment rituals. Some of us a lot of times. But whether we have really received it or not, that's a different matter. And also that's a topic for some other day. Some of us who have been studying together in a group study 3 times a week, you know what I'm talking about, yeah, the details of all of that. So anyway, here, this practice. So it involves recitation, which is the recitation of the mantra of love and compassion, sometimes called the 6-syllable mantra, sometimes called the wish-fulfilling mantra, Mani mantra. Mani is the wish-fulfilling jewel in Sanskrit. So sometimes it's called the wish-fulfilling mantra, sometimes it's called the 6-syllable mantra, and so it's Om Mani Padme Hum. Sometimes there's a 7th syllable, Shri. Sometimes there is 3 more, Om Ahong. Om Ahong Shri, Om Mani Padme Hum, or Om Mani Padme Hum Shri. But they're all called the 6th syllable. So they're all called the 6th syllable. So here, like any sadhana, which is what this is, sadhana is a means of accomplishment. Again, superficially, there are parts where you do prayers and it sounds like you are praying in the way that theistic traditions might advocate praying. Of course, there are overlaps. Some of the overlapping factors is opening your heart. Ability to open your heart so that your heart can be filled with the blessings, so that your heart can be inspired, so that you can be encouraged. Here in this method, what we also emphasize, aside from the opening of heart, it's also the principle of whatever the mind dwells on, that the mind becomes. So if the mind dwells on problems, then problems is all that we're going to experience. If the mind dwells on love and compassion, then it is love and compassion. So here the image used for love and compassion is this Buddha called Avalokiteshvara with 4 arms. So if you look at the text that we shared on the first page after the cover is this image of Avalokiteshvara. I think many of you are familiar with it. Now, in case you are not familiar with it and you struggle, right, to kind of really see how this image, how this Buddha principle, how this Buddha looks, when it comes time to visualize or to imagine yourself to be this form, for a start, as a starting point, is sufficient to see yourself like a globe, almost like a crystal globe, radiating light, glowing with light. And that light, I said, it's like moonlight and sunlight together being radiated. The soft moonlight that pervades everything, softly, discreetly, and that is like compassion enveloping everything. The sunlight light that radiates from this orb is the wisdom light. So the moonlight is like the love and compassion light. And then the sunlight, which is bright and clears all darkness, all confusion, that is like the wisdom light. So it suffices to just do this. If Avalokiteshvara as an image is not so easy for you, then just, yourself as an orb of light and radiating love and compassion and wisdom, radiating out in all directions, transforming your experience. So we're going to do this practice. If this is the first time you do it, you will have questions. You will have, wait, what are the details? But don't get stuck. So we're going to do this together. We're going to recite this in English together. The first part 3 times. And then we're going to recite. And then we're going to arrive at the mantra recitation. And we're going to focus on the mantra recitation part. After all, this is our first session. Second session, I will elaborate on some of the details. Third session, a little bit more of the details, a little bit more, a little bit more. Hopefully by session 6, you have a good understanding as well as a good experience of this particular meditation style, this particular meditation technique. Now, before we start, I want to see if you have any questions related to what I've said. I'm sure you have many questions about many other things, even Dharma things, but related to what I have just said, what I've just shared, please ask. I'll try my best to answer. I don't know if I have the answer. If you're watching on Facebook, you can type the question. I'll give a few minutes. Also, if you have the question, I'm sure, at least 4 other people have the same question. Just too shy to ask. Or not asking because I have his contact information. I'm going to text him the question later. I try to answer, but not always possible to individually answer everyone. So it looks like we don't have any burning question that needs to be asked. So on page 1 of this text, let's start with taking refuge. To you, 3 jewels and 3 roots, all you sources of refuge, I go for refuge. To establish all migratory beings as Buddhas, I give rise to supreme bodhicitta. To you, 3 jewels and 3 roots, all you sources of refuge, I go for refuge. To establish all migratory beings as Buddhas, I give rise to supreme bodhicitta. To you, 3 jewels and 3 roots, all you sources of refuge, I go for refuge. To establish all migratory beings as Buddhas, I give rise to supreme bodhicitta. To the 3 jewels, I go for refuge. I confess each misdeed and non-virtue, and rejoice in the virtue of migratory beings. I will also be mindful of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly, I go for refuge until awakening is reached. To fully accomplish the benefit of both self and other, I generate the awakening mind.
Having generated supreme awakened mind, I will serve all sentient beings and delightfully engage in the supreme deeds of the bodhisattvas. For the benefit of migratory beings, may I accomplish Buddhahood. I am the great compassionate one, white in color, with one face and four arms, with palms together and holding mala and lotus, legs crossed, adorned with jewels and silks, seated on the lotus and moon seat. Om Mani Padme Hum. Visualize white-colored Lord of the world of the God realm, with one face, four arms, palms together, holding a veena and a lotus, seated cross-legged on a moon. Om, Om, Swaha. Lord of the world is another name of Avalokiteshvara. So basically, same form, color is different, and then what he holds in his hand is different. There will be altogether 7 of these Avalokiteshvara, and they are all yourself actually. So the central one first, palms together, holding a crystal mala on this other right hand, and holding a lotus on this other left hand. So seated in the center, white in color. Then this next one, when it says visualize white color, Lord of the world, again, one face, 4 arms. So the first pair of arms, again, together like this. Then in the left hand, for all 7, is the same, holding the lotus. But right hand, this one, holds a string instrument, an Indian string instrument, like a guitar, a veena. So then he sits in front and facing the first one. And these 6 are going to be seated around the central one, facing in. The central one is the principle, right? But these are the appearance of love and compassion in different realms of existence. In traditional Buddhist cosmology, we say 6 realms. And so therefore, we have these 6 surrounding. The 6 realms are also related to the 6 afflictive emotions. So even if you say, I don't know, I don't believe in, these things that I cannot see. But afflictive emotions, we can see quite clearly. So this is to say love and compassion, turns up in the 6 realms of suffering. In the realm of pride, which is what the gods are all about. In the realm of desire, which is what humans are all about. In the realm of jealousy, which is what the demigods are all about. In the realm of being led by instincts, in this case we call stupidity, but they're not stupid in that sense, but led by instincts. That's the realm of animals. Then led by avarice, greed, hungry ghost. Led by anger and resentment, hell realms. So anywhere, any existence that is under the power of these afflictive emotions, love and compassion now turns up and illuminates. That's the meaning of. So don't worry too much about the details of what they're holding, the colors, all of that. That can be developed slowly. And it's very powerful when you're able to develop that clear image. But right now, it might be too much. So anyway, we're going to continue reading this and arrive at the part where we recite the mantra. So next, visualize green-colored Lord of the world of the demigod realm with one face, four arms, palms together, holding sword and armor and a lotus, seated cross-legged on a moon. Ma Swaha. Visualize multicolored Lord of the world of the human realm with one face, four arms, palms together, holding a mala and a lotus, seated cross-legged on the moon. Ni Swaha. Visualize smoke-colored Lord of the world of the animal realm with one face, four arms, palms together, holding a scripture and lotus, seated cross-legged on the moon. Pet Swaha. Visualize red-colored Lord of the world of the Preta realm with one face, four arms, palms together, holding a chest box and a lotus, seated cross-legged on the moon. Me Swaha. Visualize black-colored Lord of the world of the hell realm with one face, four arms, palms together, holding fire and water and a lotus, seated cross-legged on the moon. Hong Swaha. Thus, in the heart center of the principal deity among the seven great compassionate ones is a Shri on a moon seat, surrounded by the six syllables. In the heart center of the surrounding six are their respective seed syllables, such as Om and so forth, and also surrounded by the six syllables. So again, now it's suffice, it's enough. If you have a hard time visualizing, imagining yourself in that form of Avalokiteshvara, one face, four arms, seated on the lotus, holding the different implements, and then six other identical, basically, surrounding the central one. If you have a hard time with all the details, it's sufficient to imagine, to visualize yourself having turned into an orb, a globe of light that is radiating light of love and compassion in all directions, transforming all the dark places, transforming all the difficult places, outside places, inside places, in between places, everywhere without exception is pervaded, washed over by the light that is radiating from yourself as Avalokiteshvara, as the Lord of compassion. If you want to join in the recitation of the mantra, you can do that. If you find that initially to be distracting, then you should principally hold on to the meditation of this light of love and compassion radiating in all direction, light of wisdom, clarifying, clearing, removing all darkness. Your mind should be focused on that. Then you can just listen to me chanting the mantra. But if you're comfortable chanting the mantra as well, then please follow in the chant. So I'm going to use a melody for this mantra that is an ancient melody. I will explain more about these melodies later. But this is a melody that has been used for a long while at a monastery in central Tibet called Drigungtil Monastery. And so they have four different melodies. It is said that these melodies were heard by one of the lineage masters from the land, from the pure land of Avalokiteshvara, that he had a visionary experience where he traveled to this pure dimension of Avalokiteshvara, and there he heard the Mani mantra, the wish-fulfilling mantra, resounding in this particular melody. So there are 4 melodies. I'm just going to start with one, the one that I think is the easiest one. For the most part, you remain in this meditation of radiating love and compassion, radiating wisdom. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani me hum. Om mani padme 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 hum. Mane 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 padme hum. Om mani 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 padme hum. We then continue with the verses of praise. Shri, in the realm of the great compassionate one, where good and bad are non-dual, appearances are without true existence, existing only in the manner of illusions, within a state that is naturally pristine and without fixations, is the boundless and pristine realm where attachment and aversion is self-liberated. To your realm, great compassionate one, I praise and pay homage. Ah Hum Hri Mani Padme Hum. Hri, the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness, the exalted body of the great compassionate one. This empty nature of appearances is like the reflections of the moon on water. Within this great ocean of the great empty nature of appearances is the boundless and pristine exalted body of self-liberated empty appearances. To your exalted body, great compassionate one, I praise and pay homage. Om Ah Hong Hri Om Mani Padme Hum. Hri, the indivisibility of sound and emptiness, the exalted voice of the great compassionate one. This empty nature of sounds is like the sound of echoes. Within this great ocean of the empty nature of sounds is the boundless and pristine exalted voice of self-liberated empty sounds. To your exalted voice, great compassionate one, I praise and pay homage. Om Ah Hong Hri Om Mani Padme Hum. Hri, the indivisibility of clarity and emptiness, the exalted mind of the great compassionate one. This empty nature of clarity is like the color of rainbows. Within this great ocean of the empty nature of clarity is the boundless and pristine exalted mind of self-liberated empty clarity. To your exalted mind, great compassionate one, I praise and pay homage. Om Ah Hong Hri Om Mani Padme Hum. Hri, the molten lava ground, is the realm of the great compassionate one. The bull-headed Ava is the exalted form of the great compassionate one. Kill, kill, strike, strike are the sounds of the 6 syllables. Arrows, spears, and swords are the various offering materials. In the boundless and pristine expanse where happiness and suffering are self-liberated, to you, the great compassionate one of existence and appearances, I praise and pay homage. Om Ah Hong Hri Om Mani Padme Hum. Now we meditate on what is called the dissolution stage. So let everything just dissolve and relax in this dissolution. Meaning the mental image that you have been holding, whether as the 7 Avalokiteshvara in all the specific details of colors and different objects held in the left hand, or the orb of light that is radiating light. Whichever way we've been visualizing, now simply let them all dissolve and fade. But knowing that the fading and the dissolving doesn't really mean that they have gone anywhere. Because in the first place, they didn't come from anywhere. Coming from nowhere, going nowhere. Just relax. But relax with presence of mind. Let your awareness, hold your awareness present. Turn up fully and be present. Whatever arises in your mind right now, see them as passing clouds. See them as flashes of lightning, just temporarily appearing and then dissolving again. Recognize that in fact, the uninterrupted arising and ceasing of thoughts is the uninterrupted radiance of love and compassion of Avalokiteshvara. I dedicate this merit to all my old mother sentient beings of the 6 realms. By this merit, may I achieve the all-knowing state. May all who wander on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara by defeating enemies of faults and delusions. Through this accumulation of precious merit dedicated to all migratory beings, may they never be separated from the sublime Dharma. By myself and others perfectly realizing the two benefits, may the melodious beat of the Dharma drum beautify this world. May the spread of the Buddha's doctrine ever increase. May all sentient beings be blissful and happy. May they practice the Dharma through the day and night. May the two benefits of self and others be spontaneously accomplished. In all lifetimes, may I never be separated from the perfect gurus, but enjoy the richness of the glorious Dharma. Having thoroughly perfected the exalted qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. So this is first session. Again, let's see if there are any questions or comments. You can type the questions if you don't want to speak, and then someone can read. Hopefully, before we meet again as a group, you will do this practice at least once, maybe twice. Doesn't have to be long. Just having the continuity of doing it gets its kind of flow better. The practice doesn't have to be perfect. If your heart, you say, I do this, in order to cultivate love and compassion for all, then the technical side, not so important. Technically flawless, no heart, no 10-point cards. You get the judges, with the 10, card up when, the heart is really there.
Dr. Lai, there's a question.
Yes, thank you.
Someone asks, Dr. Lai, I know what the three jewels are, but what are the three roots?
Yeah, good. The three roots are another way of talking about the three jewels. The three jewels or the three refuges being Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. In Vajrayana dimension of Buddha's teachings, we speak of the three roots. The root of all blessings and empowerment, so to say, is the guru, the teacher principle. The root of all accomplishments, making progress, is the yidam, meaning the meditational deity. In this case, the Lord of compassion, the Lord of love and compassion, Avalokiteshvara. The root of all activities, as in positive activities, virtuous activities, awakening activities, are said to be what we call the Dharma protectors and the Dakinis, all these kind of Vajrayana level, Vajrayana dimension protectors. But these three roots are not like separate from the three jewels. In fact, the guru is the inner aspect of Buddha. The idam, the meditational deity, is the inner aspect of Dharma. And the Dharma protectors and the Dakinis, they are the inner aspect of the Sangha. So, in other words, then, we have to relate to these three roots in the same way we relate to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So like the idam, for example, superficially, we say deity, this deity, that deity. Now is the deity of love and compassion. Avalokiteshvara, one face, four arms, seated this way. Superficially, it looks like, these gods or goddesses that we talk about, that people go and ask for favors, ask for answer to our problems. But here, since idam is the equivalent of the Dharma jewel or the Dharma refuge, then we should relate to idam exactly the way we relate to the Dharma, which is it's a set of practices to use, like a tool, right? In other words, right? To utilize, to purify, to polish away all the dirt and reveal the diamond that we are. So the idam is a method to polish away all the impurities, the crud, so that the diamonds that we are can be revealed. So 3 roots is basically 3 jewels, but in the context of Vajrayana practice. So if we don't have other questions, then we will end here with a final dedication verse. Some of you know in Tibetan that I will chant. And if you go look at the first text that we use, the opening prayers, it's in there as part of the dedication prayers at the end. It is on page 5 of that text. The one that says, Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise, where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. And so all of our practices actually is the practice of bodhicitta, or should be the practice of bodhicitta, actualizing bodhicitta, both in its relative aspect and in its absolute aspect. In other words, perfecting love and compassion and perfecting wisdom. Chanchub semcho rinpoche ma ge panam ge gyurche ge ba nyam ba me ba yang gong ne gong du So thank you for joining us. This specific program will continue again on Tuesday. Meanwhile, between today and Tuesday, try to do this practice on your own, at least once, maybe more than once. That'll be good. As you keep the continuity so that it flows better. So each time we come back as a group, and then more teachings or explanation given, then it will kind of enter you more easily. But if you put this away and say, oh, class is not until Tuesday or Thursday, then it will be a little bit choppy. So you have a good day, you have a good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you to all of you participating. Most
Thank
wonderful.
you, Dr. Lai.
We have over 50 something people on Zoom and then more people on Facebook. So this is wonderful.
Gracias.
Thank you.